Welcome back to another book talk by Monty Davenport. Should I be saying my phone number? I don't know. Hopefully nobody tags this video and doxes me. But today, for my final book talk of 11 English AP, The Book Thief by Markus Zusak. So, little backstory on this book. It took me a while to read. I read it I might have been reading it for a month, I'm not gonna lie. It took me kind of a long time to read. I don't know why, it was just it took me a while to get through. I'm not sure why, because it was a pretty fast-paced book. It wasn't slow, but it wasn't fast, but I don't know. And the writing was easy to understand. It was just it took me a long time to read this book. And it was okay. Maybe I'll give it another read. I've tried to read this book all the way through twice before, and I did not make it past 140 pages either of the times. I think what I remembered before I stopped was probably right. I don't know. Probably, I literally forgot his name. Max. I was gonna call him Marcus. Right when Max showed up at the front door of Himmel Street. So, and then the first time before that, I got 40 pages in. I've tried so hard to read this book. Trust me, I've tried so hard to read this book, and I just couldn't do it. But I made it through this time. And I'm so proud of myself because I liked it. I don't know. Let's get into it. So basically, The Book Thief is about this little girl. It starts off with this little girl who, before that, this book is set in the late 1930s and early 1940s, and the book starts off in 1939. 10-year-old Liesel Meminger is on a train with her little brother and her mother. She's on a train on the way to a distant town in Germany to get adopted by a new family. So, I never really understood why she had to be adopted. I kind of just thought that, for financial reasons, she was getting adopted. But now that I'm kind of thinking about it back, a little bit more, I'm thinking that maybe her mom was probably Jewish, or she had something to do with Jewish people. But anyways, I should have annotated this book. I feel I'd understand it more. But, yeah, so she's on the train. She ends up falling asleep. And, she wakes up and her brother is basically dead. She finds her brother her brother's probably 8 or 7 or 6, something like that. She finds her brother dead, and she's shaking him, trying to wake him up. But they end up having to stop the train and bury him outside in the snow. And, from that point on, I feel everybody knows that this book is going to be sad. So when I read that, I was where, it was just a lot to take in the first 30 pages. So Liesel makes it to the new parents' home, and they live on 31 Himmel Street, or is it 41 Himmel Street? I think it actually is 41 Himmel Street. I don't know. Do they say it in the book? I think. Something. I don't know. But they live on Himmel Street, and Himmel means heaven. So I feel is that a little bit of foreshadowing? Is it a little bit of irony? I don't know. I feel it's a little bit of irony. But she makes it there. She does not want to get out. So, her social worker has to, she's, kicking the social worker's seat. She is not getting out of the car. But she ends up getting out, and living out the rest of her days with these new adopted parents. So this is where we meet Rosa Huberman and what's his first name? John? Is it John? I swear I read this book. I just can't remember his name because Liesel always called him Papa. Like from like a couple months in, she always called him Papa. So I can't remember his name. Hans. Oh my gosh. I'm so disappointed in myself. Hans Huberman is the father. Rosa Huberman is the mother. They are very distinct characters, and they are very like much like the opposite of each other. I think they're character foils. They're very much the opposite of each other. Rosa Huberman is like this super cranky, loud, angry mother who demands so much of Liesel. She's like always cussing at somebody. She's always has something to be upset about. And Hans is kind of like the more chill side. He's kind of like the kind of mediator between, you know, Liesel and Rosa, and he's like always cracking jokes. He's definitely like a source of light for Liesel in a time where everything was bleak and dark. I mean, she just lost her brother and she can never see her mom again. So I mean, you know, when she first got there, she would wet the bed a lot, and Hans would come in and sit with her and read to her, which takes us to the central aspect of the story. So Liesel is the book thief. She is a book stealer. She's a thiever. She stole her first book when she was burying her brother. She stole this book called A Grave Digger's Handbook, and she kept it under her mattress. And it's actually really sad because like her brother's mattress is on the other side of the room, and like she can still see it, and it's like so sad. But she put it underneath her mattress, not knowing what it was, not knowing how to read. So she, you know, just had it. And during one of her night terrors, Hans came in, found the book, and was like, "Do you want me to read it to you?" And she was like, "Yeah." So he starts reading it to her little by little, and she starts falling in love with books more and more and more. So she ends up going to school and meeting this man, this little boy named Rudy Steiner, who I wish my son is like him in the future. If I ever have a son, he needs to be like Rudy Steiner, because Rudy Steiner is Liesel's best friend, and he's the greatest kid ever, and he didn't need to die. But I'm getting ahead of myself. So she ends up learning how to read through like a bunch of different times that Hans had read to her, and from going to school. So she meets like Rudy Steiner, and they become best friends. They do everything together. They play soccer together. They steal together. They had like a stealing phase because again, she's the book thief, so she steals books, but she also would steal food as well during like the time of rationing, because again, this is set, you know, in the early 40s and in Germany. So this is when World War II was really taking off and setting into kind of affecting Germany and the rest of the surrounding countries. So they would steal a lot. Her and Rudy, they would steal potatoes and apples, and you know, Liesel would also steal books. So Liesel would steal books from the mayor's house. So her mom, Rosa, her job was to iron and wash clothes, and she would go and iron and wash like everybody's clothes in the town. So, you know, Liesel would go with her some days that she doesn't have school to help her iron and wash the clothes and collect clothes and give clothes back for money. So when they get to the mayor's house, his wife opens the door, and we rarely see the mayor. I can't remember an interaction that had the mayor in it except when his wife was behind him. Her name's Isla Herman. So the wife of the mayor opens the door to Liesel and Rosa, and they're like, "Do you have the laundry?" She gives it to her, and off rip, she's weird. Like, not like weird, but like she's acting weird. Like, she's very silent, she's very frazzled. Her hair is even depicted like it's frazzled. So there's something very off about her, but upon numerous occasions, Isla lets Liesel in to see her books. Which I can't remember why she even started giving her books in the first place, but she would like let her come in and look at the books that she has, and it was like a huge bookshelf. She had like floor to ceiling bookshelves. It was like books everywhere, books on the floor. It was like in a huge desk in the middle. It's like next to this huge window. So eventually, because of rationing in the war, everybody started cutting off like their ability to pay Rosa for laundry. So the mayor and his wife were like, we can't pay you anymore, I'm sorry. So Liesel is very angry. She literally curses at Isla. She talks about her dead son. Like, she goes ham on Isla and then starts stealing her books. Like, why are you stealing her books? Like, you done ripped her to shreds and now you're gonna steal her books? That was kind of out of pocket for me. Like, Liesel wasn't really in the pocket in that moment. So, yeah. After that, so we kind of have, like, her life established, right? The main turning point in the story is about halfway through when we get this man, about 22, 23. We get this man named Max Vanderberg, and he just shows up at the door, and he's like, do you still play the accordion? To Papa, Liesel's adopted father. So nobody knows who this man is, and it takes a while to kind of introduce him, which is why I kind of docked points from this book, because it went just a little slow, and like it was jumping around a lot. But you know, he was like, oh, do you still play the accordion, to Hans, and we figure out that he's a Jewish man that had a father who fought Hans in the First World War, and Hans vowed to always protect the family, always keep the family safe when the father died. So this is his son, right? The Hans's friend's son. He comes to the door. He's Jewish, and he's running from, he's Jewish, and he's running. So he ends up taking refuge in the house, and that's kind of like the turning point for Liesel's life, because I feel like she's maybe 11 or 12 here. So they start hiding him in the house. So that's kind of where where's this description? There's a description in here. Yeah, but these are dangerous times when Liesel's foster family has a Jewish man in their basement. Liesel's world is both opened up and closed down. So yeah, that's kind of like the main part of the story. They hide him, and that's, I hate to say it, I know you love this book. I know you said you love this book. That's all I got to say about it. Like, they hide him. He ends up getting super sick, and like really sick, and they have, like, he ends up leaving against Hans and Rose's wishes, but he ends up leaving, and he gets captured by the German army, and Liesel sees him one more time when he's walking down the street, but that's really it. And then a bunch of bombs start happening. So Liesel's probably like 13, 14 now. A bunch of bombs start happening, like bombing streets. And there's like a bunch of bomb drills. So like we go through like a bunch of bomb drills and her reading to the people like living or like staying underneath the basement. And eventually a bomb hits and kills everybody on the street. And everybody dies on the street except Liesel. All her neighbors die. Rudy Steiner dies, and all his little siblings. Hans and Rosa dies, and she's the only one left in the rubble. And like that's literally like how the book ends, is we hear about her and then we see like, and then like we jump to the epilogue. Yeah. And then we jump to the epilogue. And in the epilogue, she's older and she's writing about her time on Himmel Street and like those days, you know, during the war. And she ends up meeting Max again, which is so sweet because they're like little besties. She ends up meeting Max again, and she's happy. She's got a husband and a bunch of little grandkids. So yeah, and that's basically how it kind of ends. I don't know. One thing I will say about this book that I really loved was how unique the narration was. It's narrated by Death himself. And I thought that was so, or not Death himself, Death itself. Death is non-binary. But literally, like, I thought, like, this is probably one of the most unique narrations I've ever seen, and I've seen some pretty unique narrations. Normally, I'm more of a like jump perspective narration kind of person, but this was just so good. And the way that Death always kind of describes things in colors, they always have a way like of comparing events in Liesel's life to colors. In the first chapter, it says like, first the colors, then the humans. That's usually how I see things, or at least I try. Right? So like Death is already admitting that like it sees things as colors. Like this one, the first chapter the first instance of the flag is, the last time I saw her was red. The sky was like soup boiling and stirring. There's just a lot of creative similes and metaphors and like comparisons to colors in this book, and I love the narration. I love the way that it was written. Like I love the way it was written. If it was a shorter book, it's not even that I have a short attention span. It's just like, I mean, half the time there was no plot. I'm sorry, lock me up. I'm sorry. Half the time there was no plot. Half the time I didn't know what I was reading. Like, I was just kind of waiting, like, when am I gonna get to like the climax? Like, I wish the climax would have came sooner, because this book is like 500 pages and it took forever to get anywhere. So like, super long build up, super specific descriptive story, which I love because not a lot of writers can do that. Again, I love the writing style and I love the narration. The writing style is beautiful, probably one of my favorite writing styles and narrations. But again, I just feel like it could have been done in a shorter amount of time, and it could have been told, the story could have been told in a more concise way. Again, this book is literally like 543 pages. Let me see. But what I did love, one part that I did love, like 550. But one thing that I did love, I will say, is the story that Max wrote and drew for Liesel. Oh my goodness. He wrote the story for Liesel, and I don't even have time to... It's just like, I'm gonna read your last page because... Now I think we are friends as... Liesel used to be scared of Max. Now I think we are friends as Girl and me. On her birthday, it was she who gave a gift. To me. It makes me understand that the best standover man I've ever known is not a man at all. What? So sick. That, I think, is my favorite part of the whole book. But I didn't like how It was so long and it took forever to get to the plot. I wish it was shorter. That's really my only pet peeve about it. I loved everything else about this book. I loved everything else about it. I don't know. That's really all I got about it. I don't know. I give it a 3.2. Maybe I need to read it. Maybe I need to read it again, but I'm probably not gonna read it again. I'm sorry, Miss Garcia. I'm sorry. I wanted to go into the book. I went to the book with a high spirit and high hopes, and it was just like it's taking so long. You know what I mean? Maybe I need to read it again. Maybe I need to read it when I'm older. Maybe I'll understand it when I'm older. But for now, I give it a 3.2 out of 5. This book is 550 pages. It was okay. I still heart Rudy Steiner. Me and Rudy are like this. He is my best friend for life. That's it. Thanks.